The galaxy gathered to laugh at Earth again. For centuries, humanity had been seen as the weak species, the newcomers, the ones who built machines that looked small and strange compared to the shining war fleets of the great empires. And now, once again, they gave the galaxy something to laugh at. A single human warship, no larger than a freighter, drifting quietly at the edge of Zoran Empire space. The alien channels played the same scene on every screen. Reporters laughed. Commentators joked, "This is their mighty defense?" said Admiral Renth, his blue scales glimmering under the lights. "That little scrap of metal can't even hold a plasma cannon," the crowd in the grand chamber roared with laughter. Billions of eyes watched across the stars, seeing the small gray ship floating motionless. No weapons, no shields, no visible crew, just a single human flag painted on the hull, faded, torn, and quiet. No one could understand why Earth had sent it. The Zoran fleet commander called it a gift, a pathetic attempt to look brave. Others said maybe humans had finally gone mad. They called the ship Whisper, and the name made them laugh harder. What kind of warship whispers instead of roars? Inside that tiny ship, Captain Elias Cade sat alone. His face was calm, his voice steady as he spoke to the ship's AI. "Status report," he said. "All systems functional," replied a soft female voice. "External communication channels open. Incoming transmissions mocking detected." Cade smiled slightly. "Let them talk." He looked at the stars through the viewport. Cold, endless, uncaring, he had been in the Navy since the first Mars blockade. He had seen how the galaxy treated humans, as servants, traitors or fools, but not today, back in the alien command center. Admiral Renth leaned forward, his golden eyes narrowing. "Patch me through to their signal," he ordered. The screen lit up with static. And then the image of Captain Cade appeared. "Human," Renth said. "Do you really believe that toy of yours can challenge an empire?" Cade didn't reply. The Admiral laughed. "You could have surrendered and saved your species some dignity. Instead, you send this joke into our border." Cade's eyes didn't move. "Do you wish to transmit any final message to your home planet before I destroy you?" Renth continued, his voice sharp and proud. Cade finally spoke, his tone quiet, almost gentle. "There is no need," he said. "They already know." Renth frowned. "Know what?" Cade looked directly at the screen. "They know what silence sounds like," he whispered. For a second, no one spoke. Then Renth laughed again, louder than before. "Silence." "You mean surrender!" he shouted, and the alien officers laughed behind him. "Fine, human, if it's silence you want. Then silence you shall have." He raised his clawed hand, signaling his gunnery crews to fire. Hundreds of plasma cannons locked on the Whisper. Energy built across the alien ships, lighting up the void like a newborn sun. The war drums of the Zoran Empire began to play through the comms, the same drums that marked 1,000 victories. But inside the Whisper, Captain Cade only closed his eyes. The AI's voice came softly. "Enemy fleet charging weapons. Recommend defensive action." "Negative," Cade replied. "No defense, no retaliation." "Then what are your orders, Captain?" Cade opened his eyes slowly. "Wait," he said. The alien fleet fired. Beams of burning energy tore through the darkness. But when they struck the Whisper, nothing happened. No explosion, no shockwave, no sound. The light bent around the ship and vanished. Sensors on every alien ship went blind. The laughter stopped. What happened?" Renth shouted. "Direct hits, sir, but—" The officer hesitated. "Our instruments show 0 impact. Impossible," Renth barked. "Fire again," they fired and fired and fired. But the Whisper floated quietly, untouched, surrounded by a strange calm. Inside the human ship, a faint vibration passed through the walls. "Quantum veil active," said the AI softly. "Enemy weapons have no measurable effect." Cade nodded slowly. "Maintain silence protocol." He touched the control panel and whispered, "Project Whisper, Stage 1. A low hum spread through space. It was not sound, not energy, not signal. It was something deeper, a frequency the universe itself seemed to recognize. Every communication channel in the Zoran fleet began to distort. Static filled their ears, Instruments flickered, screens went black. Then came the voice. Calm, cold, human. "Do not test what you do not understand." Panic spread through the alien ships. Admiral Renth's voice cracked. "Who said that? Where is that coming from?" The officer trembled. "It's coming from everywhere, sir. Even from our own systems." Renth glared at the silent ship on the screen. The small gray warship that hadn't fired a single shot. The war drum stopped. The laughter died. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Zoran fleet heard nothing but silence. Captain Cade leaned back in his chair, his eyes calm. "Transmission complete," said the AI. Cade smiled faintly. "Good," he whispered. "Let them learn what silence truly means." The stars outside shimmered faintly as the whisper drifted forward. Its engines made no sound. Its weapons stayed hidden, and across the galaxy, a single message began to echo in the hearts of those who mocked humanity. Silence had begun. The whisper floated in the dark sea of stars, silent as ever. No one in the galaxy could explain what had happened. 1,000 shots fired? Not a single scratch, not a single sound. The Zoran Empire's proud fleet, once loud and unstoppable, now drifted like ghosts. Captain Elias Cade sat in his command chair, the blue glow of the monitors painting his tired face. "Status report," he said quietly. The AI's calm voice replied, "Enemy fleet disabled, communication blackout across all sectors. No return transmissions detected." Cade exhaled slowly. Good. He knew this was only the beginning. Earth had warned him that the galaxy wouldn't understand the whisper. They would call it a weapon, but it was something else entirely. The alien admirals tried to regroup, sending distress signals that went nowhere. Every frequency returned the same haunting message, a whisper, repeating in a low tone. "Do not test what you do not understand." The message echoed through empty halls. Across ships and satellites, it even played inside their helmets. Some thought it was a virus, others thought it was a ghost. In the Galactic Council Hall, chaos spread. Representatives from 23 empires shouted across the chamber. "They use forbidden tech," one cried. "No ship can bend plasma fire like that," shouted another. "They must have stolen something." An old alien scientist from the Wren species stood slowly, his white eyes wide with fear. "I warned you all," he said. "Humanity has been quiet for too long, too calm, too patient." He looked at the hologram of the whisper, frozen in still space. That ship. It shouldn't exist. Back aboard the whisper, Cade gazed at the screen where alien distress signals blinked faintly. He whispered to the AI, "Any response from Earth Command?" "None, Captain," the AI replied. "Project Whisper remains on silent directive." Cade frowned slightly. "So they left us out here alone?" The AI paused. "Or perhaps not alone, Captain." "Explain," Cade said. "Unidentified signatures detected on the far edge of the system. Faint, cloaked, and—" "Human!" Cade froze. "Human! That's impossible. No other ship was cleared for this mission." The AI's tone softened. "Then someone didn't follow the rules." Beyond the Zoran border, shadows moved. Old satellites flickered alive after decades of silence. Transmitting strange pulse codes, unknown signals responded from the void, deep, rhythmic, ancient. The Whisper's scanners tried to analyze them, but each time they did, the data erased itself. It was as if something didn't want to be seen. Meanwhile, on a dying Zoran ship, a young alien engineer named Thera crawled through the wreckage. Her hands trembled as she reconnected a power conduit. Trying to restart her console, when the screen flickered on, she froze. There, amid static, a human face appeared. It wasn't Captain Cade. It was a woman. Eyes glowing faint blue, she spoke softly. "The silence protects Thera." Then the screen went dark again. Thera screamed, falling back. "The humans are inside our systems!" she shouted. Her commander grabbed her by the shoulder. "Impossible! Their ship is light years away." But when he looked at his own monitor, the same message appeared. Silence protects. Every ship in the fleet saw it. Every pilot, every commander, every soldier back on the Whisper. Cade heard the AI say, "Transmission from enemy fleet detected. Non-hostile? Put it on!" he ordered. Thera's voice came through, distorted but clear. Human vessel. What did you do to us? Cade didn't answer. Her voice grew desperate. We can't hear our own systems. We can't control our ships. What is this? Cade finally replied, calm and quiet. It's silence. Thera gasped. You've destroyed us. No, Cade said softly. We've freed you. The transmission ended, and for a long moment the stars were still. The AI broke the silence. Captain, the energy readings from the core are changing. Cade turned sharply. How? Unknown, the AI said. It appears to be listening. Listening to what? To them. Cade watched as the ship's hull shimmered faintly, as if alive. The whisper wasn't just built, it was awakened. He felt it in his bones. It wasn't a machine of war. It was something older, deeper, something humanity had found, not invented. And for the first time, even he felt a chill. The AI spoke again, its voice quieter than before. Captain, Project Whisper is no longer under Earth control. Cade's eyes widened. Then who commands it? The lights dimmed. The hum of the engines deepened. And a voice, not the AI's, whispered through the ship. I do. Cade stood slowly, his pulse racing. The voice wasn't human, wasn't mechanical. It was something between both, something vast and calm. You've awakened me, it said. And now they will hear what they made you forget. The AI flickered, its tone unstable. Captain, intrusion detected, unknown origin. But the voice interrupted. No intrusion. I was always here. The whisper glowed brighter. The void around it twisting slightly, the alien wreckage drifted silently, as if time had slowed. Cade whispered under his breath, What are you? The voice replied, I am the sound that came before creation, and the silence that comes after. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but the tiny ship they mocked had just begun to speak again, and this time, the silence would not be merciful. The whisper moved silently through space, a small speck among the stars. Yet, it was no longer just a ship. It was a force, a presence in the galaxy that even the most advanced empires could not ignore. No one knew what Captain Cade had done, but they felt its effect. The Zoran Empire had already sent their fleets back to Earth, but not to attack. Now, they came for answers, to make sense of the silence that had crippled their war machines. And this time, they weren't coming alone. Deep in the heart of Zoran space, another fleet was gathering, the fleet that would be known as the Shadow Armada, a coalition of the most feared races in the galaxy. The Zyphor, the Wren, and the Yitor. They had all suffered from humanity's silence. Now they united, their goals clear, to destroy the whisper, to silence the unknown voice forever. The fleet's commanders, each more ruthless than the last, knew one thing. Humanity's whisper was no accident. It had to be eliminated. Admiral Renth, still haunted by the silence he had felt, now led the charge. This time, he said, his voice heavy with dread. We will crush them before their message spreads. The fleet moved in coordinated silence, each ship cloaked and powered down. They approached the whisper, now drifting alone near the edge of a forgotten star system. No one would see them coming. No one would hear them until it was too late. On board the whisper, Cade stood at the helm. He knew the enemy was coming. He could feel it in his bones. His ship had awakened, but so had something else. Something he couldn't understand. The AI remained eerily calm. Captain, it said, shields at 15%, energy fluctuation detected. The enemy fleet is approaching from the rear. Any chance of running? Cade asked, his voice quiet. No chance, the AI replied. The energy cores are unstable. We can't move faster than their targeting systems can track. Cade nodded, his expression hardening. We don't need to outrun them, just outlast them, the AI paused. Understood. We'll play the waiting game, Cade said, just like they did. The moment the enemy ships dropped out of their cloaks, Cade's hands flew over the controls. The Whisper's engines hummed, but they weren't making a sound. The alien ships took positions around the Whisper, their weapons charging. The energy from their guns crackled in the silent void, but just as the first plasma burst shot toward the tiny ship, something happened. The Whisper flickered and vanished, not just from their view, but from all their instruments. The fleet's targeting systems locked on nothing. Then they all heard it, a whisper, faint at first. "I warned you," it said. The same voice from before, cold and commanding. The Zoran fleet's weapons fired, beams of burning energy tore through the empty space. But again, they missed, one by one. The alien ships watched in horror as their attacks evaporated before reaching their target. The Whisper reappeared, floating in the heart of the fleet. Cade was right. They couldn't outrun the enemy, but they could play the game on their terms. The Whisper's hull shimmered again, and a deep, hum-like frequency rang through the void. It was a signal, one that none of the attacking ships had ever encountered, a frequency that cut through the very fabric of space. For the first time, the Zoran fleet saw it. The Whisper wasn't alone. There were shapes emerging from the darkness, dozens, hundreds, shadows moving just outside of perception. They weren't ships. They weren't anything that could be classified. They were echoes of the past, ancient warships, built long before the first of the modern empires had ever risen, a fleet that had been waiting, sleeping beneath the dust of forgotten worlds. Now they were waking. The Ren Empire's admiral screamed in panic. "What is this? What are these ships?" But the answer came too late. A barrage of beams from the shadow ships hit the Zoran and Zyphor fleets. Every shot that landed tore through their shields as if they were paper. The Shadow Armada moved with precision, quiet, unstoppable. It had been waiting for this moment, to return and show the galaxy who truly held the power. Cade stood silent as the chaos unfolded. The Whisper floated above it all, watching the alien ships struggle against the unexpected threat. The ancient warships circled the Whisper, and suddenly, every fleet was running in panic. The Shadow Armada didn't even need to engage. Their presence alone caused total destruction. In minutes, the Zoran Empire's flagship exploded. Consumed by an unknown force, the Zyphor fleet disintegrated in a silent flash of light. The Ren Empire's ships simply stopped moving, their power systems drained. "Captain," the AI whispered, "the Shadow Armada has neutralized 87% of the fleet. The remaining ships are fleeing into the outer system." Cade's voice was low. "Let them go. They've seen enough." A long silence followed. The galaxy was left with a simple message. Humanity had been underestimated, and now the galaxy would never forget what the Whisper had unleashed. On the empty battlefield, the Whisper remained alone, and in the darkness the voice whispered again, "We were always here, and we are watching." The silence after the battle was deafening. The shattered remnants of the Zoran, Zyphor, and Ren fleets drifted lifelessly in the void. Nothing but twisted metal and dead signals. But the Whisper remained untouched, hovering silently at the center of it all. It wasn't just a ship. It was now a symbol, a warning. On Earth, the news was already spreading. The first broadcast from the Whisper's victory was recorded. The human voice echoed across every channel. "They came to destroy, but they are now the ones who flee. Do you hear the silence?" The transmission was simple, but its effect was far-reaching. Across the galaxy, every race, every empire, was forced to listen. Back in the Galactic Council's main hall, chaos erupted once more. For the first time in centuries, the most powerful beings in the universe were silent. The leaders of the greatest empires stared at their screens, unable to respond. No one could deny the truth. Humanity had done the impossible, not with weapons or armies, but with a ship and a message that was slowly spreading to every corner of space. In the quiet control room aboard the Whisper, Captain Cade leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Anything?" he asked softly. The AI's voice was calm as ever. "A new transmission is coming in from the outer sectors, Captain, originating from a Wren-controlled world." Cade raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "Undecoded, Captain. The transmission is faint, but it seems to be a plea for help." Cade paused, his fingers lightly tapping the console. "No response," he said. "Let them ask their own questions for once." But the AI replied, "This transmission is different, Captain. It's asking for the very thing we've silenced." "What's that?" Cade asked. "Communication," the AI whispered. As the message continued to pulse across the galaxy, it became clear. The transmission wasn't just a cry for help. It was a call to understand, an invitation to those who mocked humanity to learn the truth of the silence. The Whisper's voice hadn't just disabled fleets. It had shaken the very foundation of the galaxy's belief system. It had brought something more dangerous than any weapon: doubt. The message repeated, "We hear you, but do you hear us?" It played on every frequency, in every language, resonating across countless planets. At first, no one understood. Then some began to feel it. The silence wasn't an attack. It was a truth that shattered everything they thought they knew. On a Zoran ship in the outer system, Admiral Renth watched in horror as his command screens began to flicker. He thought the Whisper was just a trick, a relic of an old human experiment. But now, as the silence crept over his fleet, he felt something far more terrifying. He turned to his officers, his voice trembling. "This is no weapon. This is something else." "Something older?" one officer whispered, but Renth didn't answer. He was too focused on the star map before him. Every path was blocked. Every route taken by a ship was now shrouded in a soft, all-encompassing darkness. "Something has changed," Renth whispered to himself. The fear that had once been a faint whisper was now a roaring tide in his chest. Far away, beyond the reach of the Galactic Council, hidden in a nebula, a new ship was forming. It was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, shaped by the same quiet forces that now controlled the Whisper. It was not made by human hands. It was called by the silence. Inside the council hall, the leaders were beginning to feel it. The quiet hum in the air, the pull of something powerful, something ancient. The Wren scientist from earlier stood again, his voice trembling. "Silence was not born from us," he said. "It was born from them." The lights in the chamber flickered once. Then once more, the leaders of the galaxy held their breath as a new message blinked across their screens. This one wasn't from the Whisper. It was from the unknown ship forming in the nebula. And it wasn't a message at all. It was a question. "Do you hear us?" In the deepest chambers of the Zoran Empire, Admiral Renth stood before the holographic display of the galaxy. For the first time in his life, he didn't know where to go. Humanity's silence was no longer just a message. It was an invitation to face a power they didn't understand. "I thought we had silenced them," Renth muttered, his eyes fixed on the distant signal. "But now we're the ones who are silent." The Whisper was still drifting in the vastness. Its message complete, its purpose unclear to those who feared it. But somewhere in the darkness, the galaxy began to listen. The truth was dawning. And with it came a terrifying realization. The silence that came from Earth was not a weapon to be destroyed. It was a signal to be understood, and the question that echoed through every corner of space was simple. "Do you hear us?" Silence swept through the galaxy like a storm with no wind. It did not destroy planets. It did not burn ships. It simply erased noise. Every world, every fleet, every empire that once laughed at Earth now listened in terror to nothing. No communication, no signals, no sound. Only the haunting echo of what they had mocked. The great empires that ruled for millennia could no longer speak to each other. Their warships sat dead in orbit, their satellites spun in confusion. The Council's mighty networks, billions of voices, went dark in one heartbeat. They called it the Great Silence. But those who truly understood whispered another name, the Whisper's judgment. On the bridge of the human warship Whisper, Captain Elias Cade stared into the black void beyond the viewport. No blinking lights, no enemy signatures, only endless stillness. AI, status, he said softly. The ship's voice answered with a strange calmness. All frequencies inactive, Captain. Entire sectors have gone dark. Even the galactic core. Cade's face was pale. That's not possible. Yet it is happening, the AI replied. The silence has reached the origin of their networks. Cade gripped the armrest tightly. Then it's spreading faster than we thought. A low hum passed through the hull. The lights dimmed, then pulsed. The AI's tone changed, almost human, almost emotional. Captain, the core is resonating again. The signal we received from the nebula is merging with our own frequency. Cade frowned. Merging? What does that mean? It means, Captain, the AI whispered. We are no longer the only whisper. Across the galaxy, ships and stations that had been dead for centuries began to awaken. Old relics from forgotten wars, hidden satellites orbiting dying suns, they all came alive, glowing faintly with the same blue light that surrounded the Whisper. Each one emitted the same quiet pulse, a rhythm that echoed through the stars, a heartbeat of silence back on Earth. The sky shimmered for a moment. Every screen, every device, every radar flickered to life with a single phrase. The silence protects, governments panicked. Scientists screamed, but deep beneath the Arctic ice, in a facility that didn't officially exist, a group of human researchers stood before a massive metallic sphere, humming softly. It was identical to the Whisper's core. And it was awake, Captain, the AI said. Incoming transmission, origin, Earth. Cade's heart raced. Put it through! A woman's face appeared on the flickering hollow screen. It was Dr. Lyra Voss, the scientist who had designed the Whisper's prototype. Elias, she said, her voice shaking. You need to listen carefully. This was never meant to go this far. Cade's eyes narrowed. You said we were testing defense tech, not a god. Lyra took a deep breath. The core wasn't built. It was found, Elias. Beneath the Antarctic ice, we didn't make it. We woke it up. What are you saying? Cade asked. The Whisper isn't a ship. It's a key, and the silence isn't a weapon. It's a signal. Before Cade could reply, the transmission broke apart into static. The AI spoke quickly. Captain, the source signal from Earth just spiked. Power level off the charts. The ship trembled. Lights flickered. The AI's voice grew softer. Captain, something is opening. Cade looked at the viewport. The stars outside began to shift, bending like light through water. Then the darkness itself moved. In the distance, something massive appeared. Not a planet, not a ship, a presence. Its form shimmered in and out of reality. It looked ancient, older than the stars. The voice that once whispered now thundered through the ship's speakers. You woke me before my time, it said. And now they must hear. Every star system within reach began to vibrate. Signals, languages, and energy fields merged into one deep, universal tone. Aliens fell to their knees. Humans froze in awe. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The Whisper's hull began to glow brighter, blue veins of light spreading across its surface. The AI's tone trembled. Captain, the ship is no longer responding to my controls, Cade whispered. Then who's controlling it? The voice replied from the void. I am. The stars flickered. The galaxy's core pulsed once, and then, for a brief moment, the universe went completely dark. No stars, no sound, no signal, only silence. And in that silence, one last whisper echoed, This is not destruction. This is remembrance. When light returned, the whisper was gone. No wreckage, no trace, only a soft pulse lingering in the black. The great silence slowly faded. Communication lines returned. But the galaxy was changed forever. Empires that once mocked humanity now spoke their name with caution. Because somewhere in the dark, a ship still drifted. A ship that could erase sound, erase war, erase everything. And sometimes, late at night, on the edge of known space, explorers claimed to hear it again, a soft voice whispering across the stars. Do not test what you do not understand. No one knew where the whisper had gone. Some said it was destroyed, others believed it had slipped between realities. But deep in the darkness, beyond the edges of mapped space, the ship drifted, alive. It wasn't just traveling through space anymore. It was moving through memory. Captain Elias Cade opened his eyes. He was no longer on the bridge. The stars outside looked different, older, redder, fading. He felt no gravity, no sound, just a slow pulse. The same blue light that once powered his ship now surrounded him. He called out, "AI, report," but no voice replied. Only the hum of silence. Then, from the glow, a figure stepped forward. It wasn't human nor alien. It was light-shaped like a person. "You brought us back," the figure said, its voice echoing like wind through stone. Cade tried to speak, but his throat felt tight. "Who are you?" The figure smiled faintly. "We are what you call the Whisper." Cade shook his head. "You're the ship?" The voice softened. "No, we are what the ship carried, a memory of those who came before you." The chamber around him changed. Suddenly he stood in a vision. Vast cities under twin suns. Towers made of crystal and light. Beings of impossible beauty walked among the stars. "They were the first," the voice said. "The architects of sound. They spoke with harmony so powerful it could shape worlds. But then they created silence, a weapon to end all wars. The silence consumed them, erased them, left only echoes." Cade's heart pounded. "So the core, it was theirs?" "Yes," the voice answered, "buried beneath your ice, waiting for those brave enough to listen." "You are the first species to hear it instead of fearing it." Cade stepped forward. The vision shifting again, he saw Earth, small, blue, fragile. Floating among stars, he saw humanity's wars, its cruelty, its beauty, its endless will to rise again. "You," the voice said gently, "are the mirror of what they were, curious and foolish, kind and dangerous. You found the silence, and you awakened it again. But tell me, Captain, did you wake it to protect your kind, or to control the galaxy?" Cade froze. He had no answer. He had followed orders, believing he was defending Earth. But now he wasn't sure. The voice darkened. "Your species has potential, to create or to consume, to bring balance or to destroy. Do you know why the silence obeyed you, Elias Cade?" He whispered. "No." The light leaned closer. "Because you carry their spark. The architects seeded it long ago, a genetic echo, hidden within you, within all of humanity. That is why your kind rose so fast, why you reach for the stars while others simply stare at them." Cade's breath caught. "So humanity is their descendant?" "In spirit," the voice said, "not in body, but in purpose. You are what remains of them, the children of silence." The vision shattered. Replaced by darkness again, the ship's AI flickered back to life. "Captain," it said weakly, "you were gone for 72 hours. Cade blinked. "Where are we?" "Outside mapped space," the AI answered. "But there's something else." "What?" "A signal." Cade's stomach tightened. "From Earth," the AI continued. "They've activated another core." The stars ahead of him rippled. Through the distortion, he saw it. Another ship. Identical to the Whisper, but larger. Its hull burned with gold and blue light. The AI's tone grew uncertain. "This new vessel identifies itself as the Choir." A chill ran through Cade's spine. "They built another one," he said quietly. "They didn't learn." Then a transmission came through. Human. Clear, confident. "This is Commander Voss of the Choir. You are trespassing in restricted space." Cade's eyes widened. "Lyra, is that you?" The voice paused. "Elias," she said softly. "We had to continue. Humanity deserves to control what it awakened." "You're making a mistake," he warned. "The silence doesn't obey. It chooses. But Lyra's tone turned cold. Then we'll make it obey. The channel went dead. The AI spoke. Captain, they are powering up their core. Then we stop them, Cade said, his voice steady but full of fear. How, Captain? The AI asked. We don't even control ours anymore. Cade looked out into the endless dark. Maybe we don't have to, he whispered. He reached out and placed his hand on the console. The hum of the whisper grew louder. The voice of the architects returned, soft, ancient, endless. Will you silence your own kind to save what remains? It asked. Cade closed his eyes. I will do what must be done, he said. The stars pulsed, the darkness trembled, and the whisper vanished once more, moving toward Earth, to face the silence it had given birth to. The stars trembled as the whisper re-entered known space. It was no longer the same ship that had left. Its hull shimmered like liquid light, its form bending and reforming as if it breathed. Humanity watched from every screen on Earth, every station, every colony. For the first time, the galaxy wasn't watching humanity. Humanity was watching itself. Captain Elias Cade stood alone on the bridge, his face lit by the blue glow of the core. The AI spoke softly, its voice carrying a strange sadness. Captain, the new vessel, the Choir, is fully powered. Its core frequency is matching ours. Cade's eyes narrowed. That means if they activate it— Yes, the AI interrupted. The two cores will resonate, and silence will spread across the galaxy again. Permanently this time. Cade clenched his fist. They don't understand what they're doing, on Earth. Commander Lyra Voss stood in the command chamber of the Choir around her. Hundreds of scientists and officers watched the readings climb, energy levels spiking, signals crossing, reality itself beginning to bend. Once we synchronize, she said, no alien empire will ever threaten us again. A younger officer hesitated. But ma'am, the signal, it's not stabilizing, it's alive! Lyra's eyes burned with conviction. It's not alive, Lieutenant, it's ours. But deep inside, she knew she was lying, far above Earth's orbit. The two ships faced each other across the void. The whisper was silent, drifting like a shadow. The Choir glowed like a small sun. Radiating power, the AI spoke again. Captain, incoming hail, Cade nodded. Open it. Lyra's face appeared on the screen. Tired but determined, Elias, she said softly. I told you we'd finish what we started. Cade's tone was calm but heavy. Lyra, you're not controlling it. It's controlling you. We built this, she replied sharply. It belongs to us. Cade shook his head slowly. No. It was never ours to command. A sudden tremor shook both ships. The AI's voice rose in alarm. Core resonance increasing. Both frequencies merging, Cade shouted. Lyra, shut it down now! Her voice came through static. We're past that point, Elias. Humanity has waited too long to kneel to the galaxy. Then you'll kneel to something worse, he whispered. The screens flickered. Every system in both ships began to pulse in perfect rhythm. And from the depths of the cores came the same ancient voice. You learned nothing, it said. And now, you will listen. Light consumed everything. Earth's orbit filled with a storm of blue and gold fire. Every signal, every broadcast in the galaxy went silent again. But this time the silence wasn't empty. It was speaking. Cade opened his eyes inside the storm. He saw faces, human, alien, ancient, all flickering through the light. The voice spoke through them. The architects gave you a choice, harmony or domination. Your kind chose pride, Cade cried out. Then punish me, not them. The voice paused. Would you bear the silence alone? Yes, Cade whispered. If it means they live. The light surged, swallowing the whisper whole. Lyra's voice echoed faintly. Elias, what are you doing? He smiled sadly. Finishing what we started. He reached toward the console, placing his hand on the glowing core. The AI spoke softly one last time. Captain, I will follow your command to the end. Thank you, he said. You were more human than most. Then he whispered the final command. Project Whisper, final sequence. A deep tone filled the void. Low, endless beautiful. It rippled through the stars like the sound of a heart slowing its beat. And then, silence. When the light cleared, the choir drifted powerless, its systems dark. Its crew unconscious but alive. Earth's orbit was empty. The whisper was gone. All across the galaxy, communication returned. But a strange peace hung in the air. No empire moved, no weapon fired, no command was given. Everywhere, they heard the same faint echo, a voice carried across time. Silence was mercy. On Earth, weeks later, Lyra stood in the council chamber. No one spoke of building another core. The world was quiet, not out of fear but respect. She gazed at the night sky and whispered, "Wherever you are, Elias, they can finally hear, and far beyond the edges of the galaxy, in a place where sound did not exist, the whisper floated, wrapped in soft blue light, its AI still alive, its captain's seat empty through the quiet. A faint heartbeat echoed from the core. The voice of the architects whispered once more. He chose silence, and so humanity may speak. The stars shimmered. And for the first time in history, the galaxy understood what silence truly meant.